Today the topic that we chose to comment about isn't a political correct one. It's an issue you won't see recognized in a lot of places, but I believe it's something that should be talked about and something that should be discussed by people and to try to understand, to better understand the reality, the world in which we live in and the patterns in the human behavior. Because today we are going to talk about how female presence online in the internet is often um, associated with the phenomenon of basically selling something to do with sexuality. Even if the main topic of the content, the female content creator, isn't really the exploitation of her own sexuality, this element is still present in a vast majority of cases, or at least in the vast majority of successful cases. So the female tends to sell her sexuality mostly to males, and that happens online um, with with an extreme potency, with an extreme prevalence. And the examples are many. We can, for example, point to the woman that makes trading card game or card collection her main content, let's say, or the main aim, the main objective of her content is to show collectibles, collectible cards, boosters, decks, whatever. But she does so always with a very prominent cleavage in every video. Or the example of the Star Wars girl, let's say, that frequently chooses to dress in extremely small clothes, like for example Princess Leia in Jabba's palace, or something like that, or very tight black bodysuits, because she's a Sith Lord. Or for example the girl that makes her content around skating, but always do so with extremely short shorts. Or even the brilliant gymnast, the the brilliant girl that does gymnastics, but that chooses that in her videos uh, the camera angles, or at least half of the camera angles, are centered on her ass, on her buttocks, let's say. So the examples are many. Those are just a few of the myriad of examples we could give about this, because this is truly everywhere on the internet, everywhere when it comes to female content creators. We aren't, of course, saying that everyone, every girl is like that, but we are saying that this is a pattern that is very observable in the current times. And what does that say about female presence online, but also about the female mind? Well, it says that the female tends to exploit her sexuality in order to earn a living. That's something that comes natural to them in a way. And that's why we see that in so many examples all over the internet. And it also says that the female doesn't need to be an OnlyFans creator or a corn star, let's say, to be someone that uses her sexuality to earn a living, to uses her sexuality as her greatest asset. Because if you are a content creator that centers in, as I said, gymnastics or sports or nerd things or collectibles or whatever, but you always tend to do so highlighting some part of your sexuality, highlighting basically your body parts, uh, and the vast majority of your public is male, you are in effect um, deviating from your main content, and you are making your principal content your own sexuality. So the content that you said you are going to make videos about in the primary stages of your channel is no longer really your content. That it becomes secondary because your main content starts to become about your sexuality, about you being sexy, about you being a pretty girl to appease to the male gaze. But this phenomenon also tells us that these female content creators know exactly what's going on. That this is not an accident. This is not something that they don't do on purpose. They know exactly what they are doing, and they know exactly what gives her more views, more likes, more engagement in her content. So all of this is well thought. All of this is planned, so that the simps, the the males that can't control themselves will uh, basically make them rich or richer. Because if they're public, if they're the people who view their content are mainly males, and when you open the comments on on these female content creators content, you see a ton of messages from men telling them that they are beautiful and princes and the best thing in the world and queens and the apex of beauty, almost like the second coming of um, Ellen of Troy. Uh, that's impossible for them not to know what they are doing and what gives her more following or more views or whatever. So it's impossible for this kind of content creators not to know what's going on and not to know what really gives them views. So they know and they exploit it further in order to have more success. So understanding that they do these kinds of things and they know exactly what they are doing, uh, we can conclude that the selling of sexuality, the exploitation of sexuality, is something that really comes natural to the majority of females. Because let's think about this way. The internet gave people a great deal of liberty, of freedom. You basically can do everything on the internet, and most of the time without consequences. People can say whatever they want, they can post whatever they want, they can create whatever content they want, they can view everything they want. So the internet is really a stage of freedom, a stage of pure liberty. You are able to do and see whatever you want. And so in such a stage of freedom, the fact that the female tends to go down the path of selling her sexuality is very telling. Is very telling about what the female's tendencies are, about how the female mind operates. And so it's not hard to correlate that with the the oldest profession in the world. And it's not hard to understand why that is the oldest profession in the world. It seems that's something that comes naturally to the majority of them. Now, we aren't making fun of them. We aren't belittling anyone. We are just observing a reality that the internet and the social media and so on made abundantly clear. We are just observing our world, the patterns and the dynamics that exist in this world. And so we arrived at this conclusion. We aren't going to tell you to think this or that way, but it seems that a vast majority of females tend really to go down this path. They know exactly what they are doing. They know exactly who views their content, who their public is, and they make a concerted effort in order to appease to that same public, in order to give to that public what they want. And what they want in the majority of time isn't really the content, the main content that they were trying to sell or to expose, but is indeed the selling, the exploitation of their sexuality. By understanding this, we understand a lot about a woman's mind, and many things that seem to be a bit strange or a bit out of place start to become more clear, or at least more understandable to us. If you like this video, I ask if you can leave a like and subscribe. And before I completely lose my voice, may God bless you, and I see you in the next one. Cheers.